Where exactly did the speed camera money go? All of it. Where is all of it?
I thought we were done with the police department.
This is speed camera money.
Okay.
And so I don't know. That has to do with like money coming in. And also add on that, I know it couldn't be used for budgeting or whatever, or forecasting, because it's couldn't, the money coming from that. And we're not getting money from that anymore. And I get that. Was some of that money used to cover basic expenses, or was it only funded or put in a bucket, we'll just say, to fund these, projects?
Yep. Having not known that was going to be a question, I don't have my ducks in a row to answer it, but I'll just say, when that money started to come in, it was a big number. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing...
It was actually crazy.
I remember seeing a number like $200 and some $1,000 at some point in the process of the first year, I believe. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I also remember being in a public safety committee meeting where, by the way, the public safety committee, I don't think has a lot of authority. We're kind of we kind of vet things, and then we pass on actionable items that the council needs to review mm-hmm. to the council. And then the council is what has authority. Mm-hmm. But I remember during our conversations about traffic camera money, it being very clearly communicated, like, you guys, police department, need to make sure that this is not being basically budgeted in or counted on as an ongoing revenue stream for a couple reasons. One,
you can't.
One is they could go away at any second. Mm-hmm. And I was actively working toward that end. Mm-hmm. As I've talked about, I thought those traffic cameras are hogwash, speed cameras, all that garbage. And you can go back to episode 1 on that, I think.
Yep. And maybe 2.
And number 2, if the traffic cameras are effective, people are going to speed less. And so, or in a more sinister scenario, if the traffic cameras have some bite to them, people are going to avoid driving through Hudson. I still would love to know from our business owners who, to my knowledge, not many of them want to talk publicly about this. I'd like to know what their real perception is about foot traffic and car traffic in Hudson during speed cameras. I think it was down, and I think it probably hurt business, although that's a hypothesis. I don't have any evidence to back that up.
I do know a major business, I think they're out of Rhinebeck.
Yes, I do too.
And they go through Hudson, and I have heard from several of their employees, like, they were instructed to not go through Hudson. Mind you, they stopped in Hudson to eat lunch, to go to the gas station, to all these things, but they were literally like, stay out of Hudson, take a different route.
So anyway,
that's water over the dam. There's a lot of money. Yeah.
So there's this money coming in. Now, I also remember in those public safety meetings, there was, and there was agreement by the police department, everybody about this, that money would go into basically a fund. And so traffic camera money could be used to pay for any number of things in the city.
Community projects.
Not just police stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember us talking about how do you wordsmith that? Because at one time, the phrase that was used was like a wish list. Like, we have this wish list of things that we would like, and we're going to use traffic camera money to pay for some of it. Well, that starts to sound a little like we're out here busting people, because we got this wish list that we want to buy this stuff that we don't really need, but we could really use and we kind of want. And it just, to me, that's just not a great, so I remember us having a conversation in public.
It's not working hard to budget your money. It's just like a free-for-all, basically, or make a wish bag, in my opinion. And
so then what I do not know, and what I would like to know, and this might be audit type stuff, and I'm not suggesting anything nefarious. I'm not saying anybody did anything legally wrong, but a question I have in my mind, and a lot of people do as well, because they've asked me, is even though we started out with traffic camera money being treated as this kind of one-time money that can't be folded into our operating budget mm-hmm. for the police department or for the city or anything, did we start to think about our spending with all this traffic camera money as a backdrop to why it was justified. Not citywide, maybe just within the police department, maybe a little bit beyond that. And one of the reasons I have that question is because I remember, like I've said several times, I finally actually put my name on the ballot for my third term, which is the first time out of 3 terms that I had done that. I did that because I had people out here. I mean, we had one like 2 doors down from us, one of those traffic cameras.
Oh no, I had one right by my house too.
And I had people out here just on me like white on rice about these traffic cameras have to go. And frankly, I agreed. And so I was like, okay, I'm actually going to run this time, and I'm going to do whatever I can to nuke this deal, because at least 1 out of 5 of us don't like it, which was the initial vote was 4-1.
No, it was heated.
At least 1 out of 5 of us really don't like this, and I'm going to take it upon myself to at least represent those people. Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, the legislature, and I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't in regular contact with the legislature, mm-hmm. encouraging them to do what they did, which is basically ban 98% of traffic cameras in Iowa. And so the legislature took care of that issue so that we in Hudson, and I personally as a council member, didn't have to fight that fight. Honestly, I don't think that I'd been able to win that fight if it was just up to me in the city of Hudson with the council and the mayor that we had at that time. And that's no disrespect to them. I just think they were all more of a believer in it than I was, and frankly, maybe like the money that the city got. It's not like any of us got kickbacks. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that.
You didn't even get a kickback to pay yours off?
Yeah.
I think mine got thrown away or something. Yeah. I think
I've got a whole thing about what you should do with your traffic camera tickets. But anyway, I remember being in a meeting when that initial legislation was passed, public safety meeting mm-hmm. in Hudson. Mm-hmm. And the DOT, I believe, was behind it or mm-hmm. something, or they were managing it, mm-hmm. and they were going to set up an appeals process. And our police department, I kept my mouth shut pretty much during this whole thing, because there's no need for me to yap, because I could see the writing on the wall. These things were going away, mm-hmm. and there's no need for me to burn a bunch of bridges with people who strongly felt the opposite from me. I was just going to let it play out. But I remember when this appeals process was laid out and we sent in an appeal, and I remember the first time I got a glimpse of how dire and how important this was to people on our side, the city of Hudson, when it started to look like we were probably going to have our appeal rejected. And it wasn't just like, we're pissed that we don't have this money. It was borderline panic. So that makes me think that this traffic camera money, which maybe these audits will help us see how that was all handled. That traffic camera money, and again, we're not talking millions of dollars. We're not talking about.
We're still talking a lot, enough to cover the $350,000 loan.
Sure, maybe. I mean, I'd have to see the numbers.
I mean, that's being it. I'm saying hypothetically,
but that's one of the reasons that I think that money, if it wasn't formally folded into the general fund, I think it might have been kind of the backdrop or kind of the safety net or the golden goose that was going to be relied on for years to come, so that when we came up to this crossroads or this fork in the road on spending and we presented it as, yes, we should do this, it was kind of like in the back of people's minds, it was like, well, that traffic camera money mm-hmm. can help us. I don't know that for sure.
Right.
But it was certainly never said like that.
Right. And it actually, I think it wasn't supposed to be even ever a part of any forecasting, anything at all.
To answer that question directly, I would say I don't know, mm-hmm. but stay tuned, because I think we're going to find out.
So this made me also, just as we're talking here, with the sale of HMEU, everybody got, checks or whatever. Taxpayers got checks. HMEU
not necessarily taxpayers, but former customers of HMEU.
Which HMEU,
I'm not an HMEU customer, and I didn't get a check, which I shouldn't have.
HMEU is the electric utility company.
Hudson Municipal Electric Utility.
And we decided to sell it or close it, basically, sell it off to Mid-American, right? Mid-American Energy for them to be. And so everybody got checks for the sale of it to Mid-American. But with that, $300,000 had to remain in an electric account with the city for any future costs after the sale, right? Did you know?
You're saying right, and
did you not know this?
I don't want to commit to saying yes, right, because I don't know.
So I do know this from back with balances and also with the sale of it. So like if there were to be like a lawsuit or any other expenses.
Let me just say something that I think is important for people. That'll happen when George Wessel was our mayor, right? Mm-hmm. And George is a numbers guy. Mm-hmm. George is an accountant. Mm-hmm. George is a guy who I was like, if that's what you say, I'm on board. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there's no way I was going to outnumber George Wessel, and I didn't want to. So if that's what they said, I trusted George, and it had good reason for that. But if that's what they said, and if that's what was done, I was kind of like, okay, great. Because there's no one in the room who is more familiar and capable with numbers than George Wessel. And so the reason I'm not answering your questions like, oh yeah, that's exactly how it happened, is because that was at a time when I was just kind of
complacent.
Yeah. And not just like, what do I have to offer to this conversation? These numbers guys have it all figured out. You know what I mean?
100%. And so like the $300,000 was supposed to remain in an account for any like future costs. I don't know what the time frame of that was, but that was for the sale of HMEU. So it showed in the balances that were published, in the paper every 2 weeks, that the electric fund always had a remaining balance of $300,000. Okay. And so that's where I'm like, where I'm coming at, like, what about that money? It just kind of like hit me. But if you don't know, again, we'll probably find that out later on. So I guess we'll move on to some developments, right? Development deals, like developing. Yep, developing land. So obviously
Hang on one second.
Okay.
Gentry, can you look and see if that's still recording? Good.
Perfect. Because we had some problems with some recording earlier. So developments in general, we have a lot of growth.
Yep.
We have a lot of
housing developments, business developments. That's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Yep.
And so is Hudson, is that the goal? We're just, want to keep having residential growth. There's a lot of residential growth. And when you're deciding on, approving a lot of these developments, is there communication like with the school? Because if you're adding all of these houses, right? And then I think somebody told me it's like 1.9 students is what the average is per household.
Okay.
Like that's how you assume like your number of children with your per house.
Okay.
Somebody told me that. I have
no idea.
But I'm
that
wondering.
Seems like a high number to me, but maybe not.
I don't know. That's just what somebody said. Again, not.
I guess we'd have 4 here, but.
So you offset for somebody who has 0.
But now we have 2 because 2 of them are graduated, whatever.
But if you look at it, so you put all these developments up. I don't know the residential count, but it's a lot, and there's more possibly going up. Is there conversations, because a lot of people move to Hudson because of the school, not necessarily the business. Is there conversations that somebody has like with the school? Because I know we just added on to the high school. There was a bond passed on that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, now we're looking at the middle school or the elementary, if we're outgrowing that, or we're adding all this. Is there like a connection where the city and the school, kind of work together, or businesses work together to talk about a future plan? And will this work with this before we're agreeing to this?
So this gets a little bit in the weeds on how the city is structured. I talked about, I'm the chair of the Public Works Committee. So that's Jake Hovey. That's water, sewer, streets. Kate Wyatt is the chair of the Public Safety Committee, which I also serve on. I think there's usually 2 council members per committee. Okay. Another committee is the mayor's task force. Another one is personnel and admin and finance. But that mayor's task force, and I'm pulling this from way back when George Wessel was mayor, but that was kind of the function, I would say, is kind of the economic development group. So like if I know that when Panther Builders or whatever they were called,
Fred Dodd or
Brent Dahlstrom.
Oh, okay.
When that came in, the northern tier, north of Ranchero Road, that all initially went through the mayor's task force. A lot of those conversations were with the mayor or with the mayor's task force. What I'm saying is I'm not on a committee that is directly involved with whoever initially approaches who if a developer, we're working on something with Kurt Bavers over here. Does he initially approach the mayor? Does he initially approach Steve Jordan, our inspector? Does he initially approach planning and zoning? I don't know. I know that he doesn't initially approach me. And I had the impression from back when George was mayor that the mayor's task force was kind of that initial point of contact. And so the reason I'm saying all that is to say, if a conversation needs to be had between the schools and the city about planning all this stuff, I would guess that it's happening in those corners. If it's not, it needs to. I heard a couple of the candidates who are running for office, council here, talk about we need to come up with a strategic plan. And we've used terms like strategic plan. And I think we've even done a couple, that stuff wears me out to a degree because, you do it and then you never follow through on what you say. And then, but I would imagine that we're due for something like that if those things aren't in place and I don't know about them yet.
Okay. And I guess, again, I've made it very clear too, I'm learning in all of this as well. And that's where maybe, talking with taxpayers, we all have the same questions and you just have a better understanding. I would think it would be important just with anything that's growing, even if it's a business, if it's anything, that everybody kind of works hand in hand. But that makes sense. With
I would also think, and not to kind of shift this off of my or the city's plate onto Dr. Voss or the school, but I would think that Dr. Voss, being in the school board, being forward looking, they would also be interested in facilitating that kind of conversation.
100%.
I'd be shocked, honestly, if that conversation isn't happening at some level.
I'm assuming it probably is,
but I'm not part of it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not.
So development, again, don't come at me, people. Okay.
These are other people's
questions that people come to me with, and it is, recurring. So I'm asking them.
Yeah.
Development and conflicts. So questions were raised about planning and zoning, members, projects move forward without a development agreement. Is there a conflict of interest there? And why wasn't there development agreements?
I think I know what you're talking about specifically. I don't know.
So let me go back here. If somebody comes to the city and they're like, I want to put an addition, here or sell, however that works. They come to you, a development. I want to develop this area and this is what I will do. And then the city, this is what you do. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
And then you'll get tax payments.
If that's what's negotiated.
Okay.
There's a lot of different ways. I think there are developers who have not asked for anything like that. And then there are developers like across the street here where it's like, there's a pretty significant TIF district and tax abatement or, whatever. What I think the issue that you're specifically referencing, if it's the one that I remember, is there was a development agreement, or there was a development taking place down closer to downtown. When I say downtown, I don't mean downtown. I just mean not up here. And there was kind of a verbal commitment that the city would take care of putting in this certain water service or sewer service or something. Again, the details escape me, but it was something along those lines. And the cost of that was something like $30,000. And the developer, I think, sent an invoice or a bill to Jake Hovey or just communicated to our public works director, like, hey, you guys are covering this. And so here's the bill for it. And Jake was like, what's this about? Like, I can't just write you a check for this amount of money because it needs to go through council, which it did. And so that developer came to us in public works and made the case for why we should pay for that. And there
was a previous verbal agreement with the developer.
There were two basic reasons for that. One is we had done it before in the case of other scenarios. There was a specific reason related to this specific project that had to do with exactly where the water was and what service it was going to provide to future things, which in the developer's mind, the city is a cost the city would have had to incur in the future or something like that.
Well, and it added, like, for example, a fire hydrant on my street.
Okay.
Which we were like the only street which didn't have it. So
there's stuff like that. And then the third reason, I said there were two, maybe there's three. The third reason was because it had been kind of agreed upon, but verbally, not in writing. Mm-hmm. And as we kind of asked questions about that and kind of poked around and prodded around and kind of found out where that all came from and how that all played out, we, Public Works, including myself, voted to go through with paying that. Mm-hmm. And then the council, ultimately passed that expenditure. There are people who are upset about that because why don't we pay for that cost for every developer? It wasn't in writing. So why would you follow through on this? And I understand that.
So I guess.
So I mean, go ahead.
For this though, because I think more or less is what the question I'm asking is not about the situation. It's about a development agreement.
The process. Yeah.
Just a development agreement, and then there is no development agreement. That we could never put ourselves in that position.
No, of course not.
Again,
and I don't know exactly where the blame falls on this one. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not specifically thinking of a particular person or a department or mm-hmm. whatever, but I am saying that as the details of this came out, mm-hmm. it was kind of like,
it took a while to fess up to the fact that there wasn't a development agreement.
Yep. And as the details of this came out, it was like, a ball got dropped, mm-hmm. and it was similar to the balls that got dropped that led us to this huge financial problem.
Mm-hmm. A learning lesson.
And so it was like, you kind of connect the dots and you go, well, this seems to fit. Mm-hmm. And the fact that those balls got dropped isn't the developer's fault.
Agreed.
Which is why we went through. I don't think any one of us that voted to support to pay that cost mm-hmm. loved it. And you could maybe make an argument, a strong argument, that we shouldn't have. But
it was told to the developer though that
would be paid.
That would be paid.
Now that's hearsay. I mean, I wasn't in the room. You know what I mean? I wasn't there when that was said. So,
I just know from my experience.
To a degree, I'm taking the developer's word for that.
Right. Which I mean, from the way it was talked about with me with the fire, because the fire hydrant was put on my street.
Yep.
And then also I had a water problem, or where my
mm-hmm.
sump pump was pumping out, and I got a nasty letter, about fixing that. Well, then it was
from the city or your neighbor or what?
Well, no, from the city.
Okay.
From the city and the building inspector. And anyways, the entire situation was ridiculous, and I won't go into that. However, water can only go down. My sump pump, there's a lot of water that comes out, and they had just put in that water bore, the drain, storm drain at the end of the street. And so it was like, they put that in, we're going to put curb and gutter on the street, storm drains, whatever. So it was my understanding he was doing that. It would benefit the city as well, because we would be able to do this. So that's why he did it, because we had a lot of concern on my street about flooding and water.
And one of the things is it was not an apples to apples, like if you were to say, well, you've never paid for that for another developer. Well, other developers haven't been in the exact same situation where it was going to end up benefiting already existing city stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Versus a brand new thing that is all
development.
You know what I'm saying?
100%. Because there was a lot of concern on our street.
These are all the kind of conversations we had when we decided to go forward with that.
With the payment,
I mean, the upshot of all that is we need to be in a position where we never, ever do anything that isn't expressly written down, I's dotted, T's crossed, which had not been the case in this circumstance.
Absolutely. And maybe other ones too. Again, it's a learning lesson. So it's, no hate to anybody at all. What changes are expected now that the building inspector is full-time?
Man, now we're turning the corner and now I got to calibrate my brain to that issue. The building inspector, Steve Jordan, has been working essentially full-time hours for a long time. And so we've been paying him, he's an hourly wage earner. So we've been paying him a full-time wage. But the only thing that we passed, when we recently passed that at council to quote, make Steve full-time, it doesn't really change his hours per se, but it just changes that he now can get some benefits and some vacation.
He can't get benefits, he doesn't need benefits is what they said. It's just
maybe
vacation.
Again,
right?
sorry.
Or holiday pay. It gives him holiday pay.
Yeah.
So he gets paid on holidays.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Sorry for my lack of details, but
I didn't want people to freak out.
all I know is that we didn't move Steve from like part-time or half-time to full-time, and now we're paying him a bunch more. We are, I guess, indirectly paying him more because he's getting holiday time, but he's been working those hours and has rightfully earned that. And so we just kind of formalize that. When people see maybe in the agenda or in the minutes, or they hear on the street that Steve Jordan, they made him full-time and they're in a financial crisis. Why are they making their inspector full-time? He's been working full-time hours.
Right.
It's just, we're adding the holiday pay thing. And I thought maybe some IPERs or some benefits, but maybe not.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to go look.
And then would Hudson ever consider moving to online permitting and payment?
I mean, I hope so. It's 2025. Like, are you kidding me? Like, now I can just say that in the pecking order of issues that we need to cross off the list, that's down there a ways. But yeah, I mean,
the reason this was brought up is that there's been several people that have said, one specifically, like, I am about ready. I could take what I want to do here in Hudson, take it somewhere else because the rules keep changing as I go. And there's different things. And I'm told this 1 minute, I'm told this next.
You're talking about, I was thinking like, I understand what you mean. Like permitting for development and just, to make it standardized
because
yes.
the rules and regulations seem to change like based on the day is from my understanding, which from my experience too, just with my water problem, I went through a weird experience too, where it's like, are these rules all made by one person or is there something set in standard?
Yep. On paper, things are standard and that's all standard. How that gets applied in different situations, because humans are involved, I imagine
chaos
could get applied differently. I'm familiar with the situation you're talking about. But
then there actually has been some other people too that have said, I've heard it's a mess to deal with Hudson for development. I wouldn't think about doing that. And that's where
I haven't heard that. I mean, that's important for us to hear.
Yeah.
And, going all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, we were talking about the mayor's race. The argument in my mind that won out, which is why I voted for Gail, was that this institutional knowledge is going to be helpful for us to turn the corner and get where we need to get on some of this stuff. The counter argument to that could be that with a brand new mayor who doesn't know how things have been done before, this guy, Hector's got an opportunity to come in here and implement brand new stuff. that's not going to be a problem because he's not teaching himself a new habit. And people aren't going to squawk about it because they expect the new mayor to do new things. So this might be an area for him to really drill down on and see happen. I mean, it's certainly the reason I laughed when you first asked the question is it's 2025. Everything's on the computer. Yes. I mean, why wouldn't at least, you're still going to probably have to come before planning and zoning. Or you're probably still going to have to sit down with the inspector. He's still going to have to come out and look at stuff. But a lot of the initial process ought to be able to be streamlined and standardized and put online. Yeah.
And that would probably, help people do it more efficiently. Everything be set in stone. A little bit more.
It allows there to be fewer cracks that stuff falls through or that stuff gets applied differently in different situations.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that was another thing too. Another person had brought up to me. It was like, well, if you're this person, things get done easily. If you're this person, whatever. I just know from my experience, personally, I had, I was like, this doesn't even make any sense. And I felt like I was being, kind of given the shaft because I was a single woman, and I'm not like a feminist or anything like that. It was just a situation where it was like, well, logic would tell you water goes down. I have a pretty good system in here.
If my name was such and such, maybe I'd be getting a little bit better treatment.
I pretty much got that as a response too, in an indirect way. And so I was really upset about that. And I was like, well, it's just because you don't want to go tell my neighbor that, water runs down. And what more would you like me to do? But anyways, I'm still a little bitter about that. Sorry. Because I had like a contractor at my house and then like there was just a lot of things going on in my yard where I was like, okay, we're trying to solve this problem because I don't need any hate mail, any more hate letters from the city about you, there was a $40,000,
fine
sump pump system
Oh,
put in here. And so it was really chaos. And I felt like things were kind of like switching around as we went. And so then finally I was like, well, I'll just call so-and-so then to do this. Well, I didn't know that you were friends with him. And I was just like, well, yeah, I mean, I grew up in this town. Oh, you should have said that. Oh, okay. So like my personal experience, that happened too, where I was like,
if we'd have known you grew up here, we'd have treated you different. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying like when this was brought to my attention, I'm like, I believed that because of my own experience.
Yeah.
So
I got it. That happened to somebody else.
Yes, and then it happened to me. So,
I got it.
Sorry if I'm maybe being a little confusing here.
That's all right.
When I'm talking about things that other people want to talk about or questions, I should just add, sometimes I get a little all over the place because, I'm interested and I care to ask, but then I'm like, okay. I'm just trying to relate here.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so should department heads get regular evaluations? Somebody asked.
Obviously, yes. I don't have anything else to say about that besides yes, of course.
Okay, so do we have those though?
I don't know.
Okay.
I guess I assume that we did. And I think that those evaluations would be either carried out by the mayor, who would be their direct report, the one who they report to in most cases, or maybe the committee that oversees their work. I can say from public safety and public works, I'm not aware of the committee doing any evaluations in those cases. It's interesting. And the whole idea of deep state, the deep state, like they talk about the deep state in Washington, D.C.
100%.
Well, what it is all these like career staffers who are there for every administration. You know what I mean? They're there all the time. And so they actually are the ones that are doing all the work. And they're the ones who know what's going on because this congressman and that congresswoman and this senator and that president, they come and go. But these deep staters, they're there the entire time. Talk about institutional knowledge. Like these guys know exactly what's going on. And we elected people have a tendency to just defer to them because we don't do this all day, every day. You know what I mean? I don't pour over all these numbers the way that staffers do. And so, one of the dynamics that comes out of that is you ask a question like, should department heads have evaluations? And you're like, of course. And then you're like, is that happening? You're like, I assume so. I assume someone's doing it. But then what you figure out is like, well, who's doing it?
Right.
I assume that the mayor's doing it, or that this is doing it, or that this committee is. Well, is your committee doing it? No. Well, so who's doing it? The mayor? Personnel, admin, and finance, because they're over personnel. But it's kind of this deal like it's not on my plate. Mm-hmm. So I've already answered a couple of your questions that way. Like, no one's talking to me about it. And I assume they're talking to those people, but I don't know.
Do you know? So here's the reason why I did choose this to put on here is because it has been asked, and really for conversation on, I am not big on evaluations. I just like, because you get, especially in a small town, everybody's, it's just weird, and you're basing it off of someone's opinion who doesn't understand the role or whatever the case may be. But then, two, we're all busy. Everybody's busy. It's like one more thing to do to evaluate. Now, I do support if there is like a issues that are brought up about something, anything, like if Mary Busey is closing down the library when she's not supposed to over and over again. Mary, I'm kidding. I know you wouldn't do that. But an example like that, where if it's brought to somebody's attention several times, should
they be written up or something?
Written up, not just that, but like maybe an investigation into some of these things in a report done.
Yeah.
So that's just basically the reason why I put that question on there is, something to consider.
Yeah.
Where it's not just, oh, this person's constantly complaining or people are just complaining. It's so that way when people are bringing issues to the table, that there is investigations instead of, oh, we're automatically in defensive or protection mode.
And what you're getting to is something we talked about way back in the first episode, which is, no one likes evaluations because they automatically force these awkward conversations. You know what I mean? I think of, I haven't been in many roles where I am evaluated, but there have been a few, and it's like, you have to like come up with bad stuff and good stuff. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, you're knocking it out of the park, keep it up. You gotta be like, come up. And then it's always like, now I don't mean this personally. And like, you're doing really, really good in all these other areas, but if you could just be a little bit better communicator, and I mean, you communicate really well, but it's not like,
I just have to put something on here.
As good as it could be. And there was this one time when like, we had this thing and then you didn't let everyone know on the team, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? No one likes that. And we should be, one of the reasons no one likes that is because we've just, as a culture, moved away from constructive criticism. We moved away from the way that we were raised. Where I mean, my dad, there's people who think that spanking is child abuse. I don't, if it's done right. My dad spanked my butt. But I never for 1 second felt like he was beating me. And I never for 1 second thought he doesn't love me. You know what I mean? But like, we're in a totally different era now. Like if I admit openly that I spank my kids, like I'm going to have DHS at my door because somebody's going to say I'm abusing my kids. Well, hogwash. That whole kind of mentality. Yes. Okay. I suppose I opened the can of worms with spanking. Is there spanking that has gone too far? Is there abuse that's bad? Of course there is. We're not talking about that. My point is that we've just moved so far from this
having conversations
where you can just say hard things and it can be, you know what? Actually, I just realized I'm wearing this shirt right here. This says, watch out, love bites.
I love it.
Def Leppard is one of my favorite bands. They have a song called Love Bites. That font right there is Def Leppard font. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. They've got a song called Love Bites. It has nothing to do with why I put this on a t-shirt. The reason I put this on a t-shirt, the meaning of the song, it has nothing to do with the meaning of this shirt, but I just stole the idea. The idea is that if sometimes love isn't just fluffy and warm and soft and gentle, sometimes love bites and you need to watch out, because if you think that love is always only soft and warm and fuzzy and gentle and affirming and self-esteeming and all this crap, then you're never going to do loving things that are necessary and that are painful. And you're never going to receive loving things that are necessary for you to receive that are painful but loving. Mm-hmm. And so this is actually a theological statement.
I actually love it.
It's a biblical statement, mm-hmm. and it ties into, I mean, I wasn't planning on, it just popped into my head that I'm wearing this shirt. It ties into what we're talking about here with evaluations. Like, if we really care about our city, if we really care about our employees, we need to love them enough to give them some feedback. And sometimes the feedback's not going to be comfortable. And we're fine, because every one of us has failed. Mm-hmm. Every one of us isn't perfect. Every one of us can do better. And we need to just be fine with that, going all the way back to the first episode, because we're clear in who our identity is. Mm-hmm. I know who I am, and nothing that you say to me that kind of maybe pricks me in the moment because it's critical or it's hard to hear is going to make me like crumble and question my identity, because I'm comfortable and confident in who I am. And I know that you love me. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, you're not just trying to tear me down.
Right.
Watch out. Love bites, and we need to embrace that rather than run from that.
Do you know, it's funny too, actually, just personally, recently, I lost a friendship because of this very thing, you know, and it sucks, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, eventually someday you're going to like understand it comes from a place of love. Like comes from a place of love, what I believe in, and it's the truth. And you know, it's the truth, but some people just aren't ready to hear things at that time. But understanding that, and that's why I say, you know, to all of these people that we're talking about, it's like, no, I'm saying this because I care. And I've had some of these conversations, just, hey, this is what I'm seeing. I have no place to say it, but I'm saying it because I care about you, and I'm just trying to give you some advice in an honest way, if anything, because this is what people are talking about. And I'm just telling you, and this is what I foresee. I know my passion can sometimes come off as a little authoritative. I don't intend it that way. It's just the level of, there's conviction behind it more when I say it. And it is passion back. And I'm doing it for that very reason, because I foresee some problems potentially. And so I'm telling you this as from the bones, you know? And so, and I hope that anybody watching that understands this, because I do believe everybody can work together. We can all grow. We can all get better tomorrow and course correct. Yeah.
Let me just say something else about this. It's a tangent. If you got another question or something, we can get to that. But I'm going to end up doing some kind of a Facebook thing, or this whole idea of the hate card. Everyone plays the hate card. And the hate card is, if you don't affirm everything about me, then you hate me, which is such BS.
It is.
I mean, and one of the things, not to go way off the rails here, but one of the things that I've been very outspoken about is this whole transgender thing. It's total nonsense. And I'm entitled to believe that, because this is a free country and I can say it out loud, even on your podcast. That doesn't mean I'm a hater. It means that I have strong convictions about this issue. But that's an issue in particular that I've been outspoken on in recently, in the last months, years, whatever, that automatically you're going to just get labeled a hater. The hate card's going to get played on you, because you can't hold that opinion and not hate the person you're talking about, which is totally false. You can't hold that opinion and be truly loving. And so I'm going to do something about the hate card and the misapplication of the term hate. Everyone always thinks, not everyone, but the culture is increasingly seeming to buy into this notion that if I say something that is in strong disagreement with you on an issue, or that is strongly critical of you, that I automatically hate you, which is hogwash. And here's the reason I'm saying this, which might apply more to your audience than what I've said so far. As a basketball coach, here's what I've learned is that, and this is going to shock you maybe, or people who hear this, you know who some of the biggest culprits of this mentality are, and they don't mean to be? It's parents. Parents who are unwilling to let their kid be anything except only affirmed in every way. So let's put it in a basketball sense. Johnny comes to my basketball team. all he's heard at home is you're the greatest. Nothing's wrong with you. You're perfect. You're the cat's meow. Not just basketball, but just in life.
Right.
Oh, that coloring, that sheet that you colored, that's the best in the class. And you're the best at this. And you run the fastest. And we're going to put you in the nicest clothes because you're and so what these parents are intending to convey to Johnny is that they love him unconditionally. That's good.
Right.
We want to love our kids. We want to love everybody unconditionally. I can't think of one person. I literally cannot think of one person who I hate. Mm-hmm. There's no one name the most vile person that there is. And I honestly don't think I hate them. Now I got problems with them, and what they do, the decisions they make. So, but this notion that if we're going to get our kids to truly believe that we can unconditionally love them, that we must unconditionally affirm them, this lays the groundwork for as soon as you get in a situation where you're not only always affirmed, then that person who's not only always affirming you, A, doesn't love you, and B, probably hates you. See what I'm saying?
No, I do.
And so you come to my basketball team and
you think you're the best player.
You're eighth in our rotation. You're not first through fifth. You're not going to start. You're not good enough. Your body language is bad. Your team mentality needs work. Your jump shot is broke, whatever it is. Now, all of a sudden, not only have I destroyed Johnny because he's never heard anything like this. He's only heard positive, affirming, puffed up stuff in the name of love. And the notion that's been given him was, we love you unconditionally. Therefore, we only say always positive things about you. Mm-hmm. But he's crushed because he's hearing this. And he unfairly thinks that I've got it out for him. I don't have it out for you, dude. Like, I'm trying to get you better. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyway, this whole watch out, love bites, this whole hate card thing, it actually is being encouraged and nurtured by well-meaning parents who are affirmation-only parents. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with what you're talking about with the city, Hudson.
Well,
but I had to just get that off my chest.
It is funny though too, just because it is a way, like that's the way of life for me, just as a human being, and so I have had. It's really impacted a lot of different things, but that's how I was raised, and that's how I am, and so. I remember I was talking to my daughter's dad one time, and this is a few years ago, where she was doing some things, and I'm like, hey, this can be corrected, whatever. When I remember him being like, you're so critical of her and whatever else, is all I was doing was telling her, hey, you didn't get accepted into NHS. The letter says you can go and ask a question. Mm-hmm. As to why you didn't. I need you to go in and ask. And, she was getting conflicting, direction from her dad and I.
Yep.
And I was like, it's not about criticizing her. It's about, she needs to go in there so she knows what she needs to do for next year. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, actually, it's just going in and asking for the feedback, because it may be something that is, a perception that was off. It may be something that could be easily put down. You need to go and do it. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting too, because I mentioned that one very controversial issue, but in the conversation we're having nationally or on different issues, everyone would join me in speaking out against alcoholism, and everyone would join me in speaking out against battering your wife. And everyone would join me in speaking out against any number of behaviors. But as soon as I speak out against one of these ones that you can't speak out against, you're a hater. You know what I mean?
Instead of just having conversations.
Instead of just being, you agree, like, I'm not a hater when I'm against alcoholism and when I'm critical of alcoholics. And I'm not a hater when I'm against
domestic assault.
Yeah. And I'm not a hater.
That's a sore subject, Matt.
Okay, so, yeah, I forgot.
Domestic assault, not women beating.
But I'm but I'm a hater if I touch any one of these that the culture has said, oh, you can't touch that issue because that one, then you're a hater, or you're a bigot, or you're a this phobe or that phobe. Hogwash, and this is fostered unintentionally by some well-meaning parents who only give their kids positive affirmation all the time. And it's cancerous.
I feel like always telling anybody what they're always doing right. Or yeah, that's exactly it. It sets people up so when you go to have a tough conversation, like you just said, they all of a sudden think you're attacking them and you're whatever. They're crushed.
He doesn't love me. He hates me.
He hates me. And we're seeing that with adults right now.
Yeah.
And so it is actually great you brought that up because I think it applies all around, especially with this stuff, with the city stuff. So I'm just glad you did. And I know, currently in my life too, I'm like, if only everybody understood life that way, So this is an interesting question I have.
Okay.
I was like, I kind of like that. Have you ever felt pressured, manipulated, or bribed in your role?
It's a great question. I'm not trying to hedge my answer at all. My initial answer is no. Mm-hmm. But now I'm trying to think and make sure that my answer should be no. There's nothing.
I'm going to say yes just based upon the person you are.
You're going to say yes?
No, like
I have felt.
Yes, your no is correct. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
When you say no, I agree with you. I would bet that to be true just because of the person that you are, where you're not going to be swayed. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of an example that could be construed as that, because when I say no, I don't mean to suggest that never happens.
I agree.
You have an idea?
I do have an idea.
What is it?
Ever felt pressured, manipulated, or bribed in your role? Pressured.
Okay.
Which is funny. So we both were like, no. And now I'm like, well, maybe. When it came to not discussing this entire situation, like city stuff in the beginning, from the get-go.
When I said I was coached to...
the question is, have you ever felt pressured, manipulated, or bribed in your role? You felt pressured to not say anything, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that counts. When I hear pressured, bribed, manipulated,
the word
that jumps off the page at me is bribed. It's like, okay, so we're talking about that kind of pressure, and it's like, no. Although, if the offer's good enough, I may be game.
I feel like this is actually a trick to the viewer who sent that. Now I'm like, well, this is pressured, manipulated, or bribed.
Yeah, so pressured. Okay,
but I love the question.
So there's a couple ways that maybe, just scenarios that I've talked about already is I remember that presentation from the police department at our public safety meeting that was basically like, if you guys cut any of our spending, we're not going to be able to stand it, and we're not going to be able to deliver the public safety that Hudson needs. There's another instance I'm thinking about when a member of the community came in and made a very strong case for why we need to continue to fully fund, if not increase, the police budget. This is all after the budget crisis has come up. And so I suppose you could construe that as pressure in a sense, the idea being that if you don't vote for this, you're basically saying, you don't care about public safety. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You kind of make it this binary choice, like fully fund us and give us whatever we want. I'm not saying anyone has said this, but sometimes the implication can be that fully fund us, give us whatever we want, or be okay with people dying in the streets. Mm-hmm. Here's an example. The traffic cameras. This is what drove me nuts. Oh gosh, this drove me nuts. When the company out of wherever they were from, Michigan, Connecticut, I don't know what, they came and presented to us. I don't remember if it was the council or the public works or maybe both. It was all about child safety. Mm-hmm. It was all about, if Ranchero Road, out here on Ranchero Road, people speed and sometime a kid's going to get hit and killed. And what are you going to think when that happens and you had a chance to prevent it by putting up these speed cameras type of thing? Mm-hmm. That's manipulation. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And so it's like,
and it's placing, you're putting,
and so here's the thing is awful. Is number one, I remember asking in that, and I kind of detest you putting me in that position. Not you, but
right. That guy.
Anybody putting me in the position of, you're either for traffic cameras or you're for people getting hit by cars. Like, come on, man, that's ridiculous. That's low IQ BS. You know what I mean? And anyone who falls for that. But the thing is,
that's all you got. Come on.
And so I remember saying, well, number one, the number of people who get killed in car accidents every year is astronomical. Mm-hmm. And so are you telling me that if I'm for cars, I'm for that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That you can't draw these like false, whatever you call them. I forget the term. But I remember here's what I detest about it is from the time that vote passed 4-1, I'll remind you, and I was the no vote. From the time that passed,
which was crazy because so many people were upset about it.
It was way more than 20%.
Like people were PO'd.
Yeah. I don't know if they knew ahead of time how PO they would be, but anyway, what drove me absolutely nuts. And again, I try to be careful with how I spend my political capital, how much I yap and bloviate. 'Cause there's no need for me to spout off kind of the way I'm spouting off right now. Mm-hmm. There's no need for me to do that when it's not gonna make a difference.
Right.
And so just like, you just kind of shut your mouth and swallow it and just go, it is what it is. And I'm going to wait for the chance that I have, kind of use, pick my spots, hopefully wisely. And as I get older, I'm getting smarter at that. And I'm getting less impulsive, but not perfect. Anyway.
I need to take notes.
Yeah. Anyway, not one time after that was passed did child safety ever come up again. You know what was talked about? How much money we were getting. Mm-hmm. Let's turn to page 3. There's the budget for the traffic camera money we've got in. Oh, wow, that's a lot. What can we buy with that? You know what I mean?
No, 100%.
Wait a minute. Where's the graphic on how many child lives we saved? Well, we don't know. You know what I mean? Because you can't.
Again, it's pushing a narrative. That bothers me, right?
And so anytime.
If you want to say, if you want to push, but there were members and there's still people on Facebook that are like, for safety of the kids, or if that's really what you believe, but really a lot of these people knew how much money it brought in. You need to just say that. If that's why you want it, say it.
Yeah.
And nobody has
I would actually respect you.
I would respect you too.
Yeah.
And like, oh, hey, we need this because it's not because you're that concerned.
And
I'm sorry.
Now that we've kind of gone down this road, and now that I'm thinking more along the lines that I am, in a certain sense, and this isn't necessarily bad, but in a certain sense, anytime an issue is presented to an elected body, mm-hmm. Anytime it's presented, it's borderline manipulative because they only share the positives of why we should do this. Mm-hmm. Here, we should do this. Well, why should we do this? Well, because of this, and this, and they're all good. But they don't go, and just to be fair, let me also give you the cons. You know what I mean? That's kind of up to us to figure out, or it's up to the other side to argue for us. And so I don't mean, in that sense, I don't mean manipulation in a bad way.
No,
I just mean
agendas, or you have a certain agenda, you're going to try and get it.
Which that's fine. And I suppose that you could construe that also as pressure. It was pressured, bribed, or manipulated. But I would say for sure not bribed. In fact, I don't know what the number is. There's this funny rule in the state of Iowa. Like, we can't accept a gift as a council member. We can't accept a gift that's worth more than like $1.25 or something. It's something ridiculous. Somebody brought us fruit one time for Christmas. Like the council, they're just being like,
are you serious?
Here's
I
this
thought
fruit.
you were going to bring up the books.
What books?
The budgeting for dummies.
Oh no! Yeah, we can't accept that unless.
But anyway, somebody brought you fruit.
But somebody brought us like a fruit basket or something like that, and we're like, I think our attorney was. And I mean, no one was intending to bribe us, but it was kind of like, you can only accept anything. Like, you can barely even accept a cup of coffee or something like that. There's some rule and some number somewhere about what you can accept as a gift from a constituent, so that it's not a bribe.
Which is interesting, and that's what pushes people to, do these underhand deals. No, I'm totally kidding.
Like I said, listen.
So then, what'd you tell the person with the fruit basket?
I think it was like, oh, thanks for the apple. Like, we each took like one piece of fruit. It's like, you know what I mean? Like,
which now, can you even get an apple for under
probably
$1?
Not. Probably not. Let me just go on the record and say this: if somebody comes to me with an offer I can't refuse, I may consider taking it. So, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so that means you are not
not characterologically sound.
Characterologically sound.
That was episode 1 too.
That was episode 1 too, which, let me put it all together here. And this does go back to the first episode, and I will say it again. I think I said it again, actually, in the beginning. I don't know if that part was recorded or not.
Oh yeah,
or
when
whatever.
I forgot to hit record.
So I apologize if it's already been said, but this conversation and this entire situation comes back, whether it's city government, whether it's at home, whether it's whatever situation in life, it really has taught us to be present, I think, be more aware, self-awareness, but also aware of the world around you. Being who you are, grounded in who you are, being a great leader at home, whether it's a parent or whatever the case may be. This is a perfect example of know who you are, walk the walk, talk the talk, be the leader, be involved in community, get back on track, care about community, care about your kids, care about keeping them informed and showing them the way. And if everybody just makes the decisions based upon their characterological soundness,
you got it.
A lot of these problems can be avoided.
Yeah.
Because you are making decisions from a grounded spot. You are aware. You are present.
Not afraid to have a tough conversation.
Not afraid to have a tough conversation. Learn something along the way.
Not afraid that somebody's going to think you don't like them because you said something they didn't want to hear.
Exactly. And be open to influence, open to feedback. We've seen change is possible, with the election, with people just being involved. Do all these things, we can make the world a better place, And so I do believe that things happen to teach us lessons, and we know that. And I think that the situation in Hudson taught us more than just about local government at the end of the day. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
And so that, I guess, is my call to everybody in Hudson or anybody watching, is that understand that this conversation is more than just local government. It's really, knowing who you are, walking the walk, talk the talk, accepting, and let's just all be better and work better together. Wouldn't you say?
Amen. Yeah, I love it. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. And this turned into way more than I expected that it would right. When we first talked about it. I initially just wanted to get on here and be as transparent and open as I knew to be, because there was this sense from people in Hudson that they weren't getting answers to some of the questions and some of the issues that are being talked about, kind of on the grapevine, weren't being talked about openly, publicly. And I'm not trying to, I said this last episode, I'm not trying to like one up any of my colleagues. They certainly would be free to share their side of it in whatever format. I'm sure you'd sit down with them if they wanted to. But it's just an opportunity to just kind of clear the air from my perspective as much as I could, knowing that a lot of the things we've talked about these last 3 episodes are things that are on the front of people's minds. And hopefully the result of that is that maybe some of the false narratives or some of the not helpful conversations have been put to rest, and we could be a little more focused on the things that need to be more, kind of front of mind and kind of the center of what we're all pursuing together.
And that's why I feel like your shirt, actually, it fits.
It's crazy. I mean,
it really does.
I actually, out of the shower today, I had a different shirt on, and something happened to that shirt. And so there's no agenda at all. It's just, there it is. It's providential. That's what we call that. In theological terms, that's providential.
I love that. And do you know what's really funny is I was going to wear a different shirt. My friend got me a shirt for my birthday, and it says, "Don't be a lady, be a legend," and by Stevie Nicks, which my mom and I like.
Rock and roll shirts.
Mac, yeah. And I was going to wear it, but then long story short, it was like all wrinkled up and from the thing, and I was supposed to hang it to dry out, like not in the dryer. And anyways, it was a hot mess. And I was like, darn it, I really wanted to wear that shirt. Don't be a lady, be a legend. And so it's the best birthday gift. So it's just funny. Rock and roll shirts. Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully Maybe a year from now we can do this again and just be like, wow, that was all really crazy.
We've come a long way.
Look at where we're at now.
Yep.
So again, to the viewers, thank you so much. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll be back with more content without Matt, unfortunately. But no, I'm kidding. I'll be back. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny.